Okay, so I guess we are live. So hello everyone. Thanks for joining today morning, at least for Ukraine, and probably for Amsterdam as well. So today we have the interview with one of our top speakers and actually keynote speaker, the Tom Van Arman, and we will speak about kind of his keynote talk, and also about some other stuff that Tom is kind of doing, and that Tom is involved in. So so welcome everyone, and welcome Tom, and probably can you say a couple of words about yourself, just to start from, right?
Of course. Thank you so much, Oleg, for inviting me to this talk. I'm really excited to kind of put some fire in the belly of some of the developers that are tuning in for your upcoming Devoxx Ukraine conference next month. My name is Tom Van Arman. It looks like a Dutch name, but actually I'm an American who's been living here for 20 years. And I came here as a young architect and urban planner, wanting to learn from what they call the Super Dutch, which was this kind of rebellion against postmodernism, and I wanted to learn as much as I can. But then in 2000, was it 6 or 7? Steve Jobs stood up on stage and introduced the world to the first smartphone, and I said, "Holy crap! What does that mean for our profession?" And so since 2010, I've been developing apps for the city of Amsterdam to tackle some really urgent problems of sustainability, mobility, and those very, very contemporary themes. And so right now, I'm just working with the city in a living lab environment to explore future sustainable living environments to make our cities more inclusive and more livable for the future.
Oh, this is very interesting. I mean, I have a couple of questions about that, your smart city hub, but I guess let's probably start to just kind of quickly, if you can tell about your keynote talk at the Devoxx that you're going to give, right? And just to give kind of some insights in that, and what's the main idea of this talk, and what's the call for action for the people actually.
Of course. I think it was good planning. Early this spring, you and I had a conversation about some of the concepts that you were thinking about as a theme, as a kind of topic for the conference next month. And it was about sustainability. And I said, well, Oleg, what do you mean? Because sustainability isn't just environmental, it's also social and economic and all of these kinds of things. And so it was kind of fun just to kind of brainstorm with you this spring and summer about what kind of call to action there should be. And I think as every month goes on, every week goes on, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the constant reminders of the climate change that are kicking our butts right now with the wildfires and the flooding and everything. The refugee crisis has arrived on our doorstep here in Amsterdam. So a lot of the Afghan people are now literally in the city of Amsterdam. The food and water shortages that are now becoming more urgent, and awful other things like corruption. And so my keynote talk is going to be addressing those issues and what role the development community can help to solve it. So hopefully my call to action for the developers would be, what kind of products and services do you want to be building and making? Is it just consumers get apps? Is it gaming apps? Or is it really kind of impactful stuff, high impact kinds of solutions that can really start addressing these urgent problems in our say global world, to make it sustainable and more resilient and more impactful. And that's my call to action for the developers, is what kind of apps do you make?
No,
Or do you want
this
to
is
be?
awesome, and yeah, this is awesome. Thanks, Tom. And I guess this is really very important. And yeah, I mean, the main idea here is, obviously the Devoxx is not like a sustainability conference or some kind of climate change conference or whatever, right?
No,
But
right.
it's
Yeah.
but the main
It's a
point
Java
here.
conference.
Yes. So I mean, for some of the people, it might sound kind of unusual, let's say, right? But in reality,
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of to build the bridge, right? Between what we are doing as a developer community in general, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what are the important, like, problems and challenges, as you said, in the world, right? Because I guess
Yeah.
it is very cool, and this is something that developers can be proud of, I guess, if they are doing something kind of big, right, for, I don't know, humanity or for environments or for the planet, right? Not just building some either pet projects about coffee shops,
Yeah.
and
It can
or
be as
just
well.
or just kind of building another e-commerce shop, right, for the clients. Of course, I
Right.
mean, it is also important for the companies, of course, to have their kind of e-commerce or some sites, blah blah blah. But I guess apart of that, there are lots of other things that are much more important, and I believe we can do better here. I mean, I know that, especially probably in Amsterdam or in kind of in Netherlands and some other like countries, it is already kind of quite, let's say, quite demanding, right? But in some of the other countries, we are a bit kind of, I guess, behind you in this sense. So I guess we really can do kind of better, and I want to kind of show people the opportunities in these kind of areas, right? Cool. Okay, so going back to your smart city hub in Amsterdam, that so can you tell us a bit more, like, how it works actually, right? So what you're doing, how it works, and yeah, I mean, what, yeah, please go. Okay, can you hear me, Tom? Or
I'm having some latency issues, so forgive me. I don't know if you can hear me. I missed
yes,
that
no.
last part, but I don't know
So
if
I
I should.
was
My Wi-Fi is strong, so I don't know what.
Yeah, I guess there is some
Let
latency, but
me.
I'm not sure on which side is that. But
Can you hear me?
yes, yes. And you can you hear me, Tom? Because I can hear you and I can see you quite well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's you or me, but there's some latency in our connection.
Hmm. Okay. So anyway, let's probably try to continue. So I was asking about your smart city hub. If you can tell, is it still latency, right? Let me chat you. Um,
I can see and hear. Okay, all right. Then I'm going to. There's some latency. My apologies. I'm going to try to guess what you were asking, and I think that what do these things mean for the development community? I think I was just talking to you before the start of the interview about my role on the board of Amsterdam, which is one of the leading app development community here in Amsterdam. So I'm not a developer myself, full disclosure. I'm more of the architect, so I just make the blueprints for apps and APIs and systems for the city. But I love hanging out with the app developers because they have such wonderful ideas and new visions and new attitudes to how to tackle these problems, and they like talking to me because I have a business model, I have a user case, I have value propositions to actually help the developers create solutions to tackle some of those urgent issues. And so what I like to do is surround myself with the talented developers, and also from the Ukraine. I mean, I've Slava, I don't know if he's listening, but from Mokot and others, I enjoy working with to kind of really rapid prototype a lot of these solutions. So my company Tapp is basically responsible urban technologies, and I do lots of projects for the cities and universities here in the city. But I don't have a full-time staff, right? I don't have a team of people, dedicated team, because the topic of smart cities is so broad. You're talking about future mobility, you're talking about smart energy, you're talking about IoT, you're talking about urban data. That's a broad topic, and I can't hire everybody on board. So I really depend on the development community to kind of help me build these things. So it's not so different from my career as an architect, but instead of going to the contractor or electrician or plumber or whatever, I go to the Java developer or the iOS developer, the AI engineer or the data analyst, and we make these projects project by project base, and they're the ones that build it. So I come up with the blueprints, and they're the ones that help me build these things. And the topics that I'm talking about, of course, whether it's climate change or pandemics or refugee crises or whatever you're interested in, there is money to be made. So it's not all kind of volunteer kind of work. These are real projects that have lots of money behind it, especially from the European Union. I'm sure in the Ukraine there's also government subsidies available to tackle these issues. And what normally happens is that there's different iterations of these kinds of projects. You have the feasibility studies, and then you have the scalability, and then you have, so there's a lot of opportunity for those that are interested in getting into this space to find the money with those private or public partners.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is probably one question we had also. I mean, is because there is a myth kind of, right? That's most of the people, they think that in sustainability area there is no kind of money and you can't get money, and stuff like that. But I guess in reality, this is the myth because most of the people, they associate sustainability kind of projects with volunteering kind of work, right? That you're not getting paid for, but in reality, as you said, there are some clients.
Could you repeat that last part, Oleg? I'm assuming you can hear me okay, but I can't hear you so well. So can you repeat that last part?
Let me probably just rejoin. I mean, if it's the problem from my side, so I'm sorry about that. Let me try to rejoin quickly here. Okay.
I don't know if it's me or if it's him. I'm going to move.
Yes, I'm back. I just reconnected just in case if it will be better.
Oh, that's much better. Much better. I didn't know if it's you or me. I'm wandering around trying to maybe hook into Ethernet, but you're much better now. Much better now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. No, I mean, probably it's problem on my side. I'm not sure. I mean, it is not showing me that there is bad connection, but anyway. Okay.
Now,
So,
cool. Sorry, can you repeat that last question? I think it was a good one, but I couldn't.
Yes. No. I mean, I guess you actually answered on my like previous question, and I was saying that there is a myth, right? That there is no kind of money in sustainability projects, and you can't earn kind of money because, and I guess it happens because most of the people, they think that sustainability is all about volunteering, right? That you're doing some volunteering stuff, and you can't get money from that. But I guess what you said is very true and very interesting, because in reality, there are lots of companies and also governments, right? That are ready to pay, right? I mean, I guess the challenge is to get these kind of orders or clients, but this is the classic challenge as you have in any kind of business, right? To get the clients. But I guess in reality, there is a big kind of money that is available for solving this kind of problems, right? Environmental and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, in my experience, in the last 10 years, there's a kind of there is a format, and I'm gonna talk a bit about that, of course, in my keynote, or at least give those top 10 tips and suggestions. But basically, all of those problems that you're talking about in terms of sustainability, economic sustainability is about saving waste, right? Saving costs, keeping things small, keeping things optimized, keep things automated. Developers know how to do that stuff. If it comes to social sustainability, how do you make those platforms that people can be represented, that they're included in these kinds of decision-making processes, that they have access to the data, and likewise for the environments. Of course, you could talk about a whole litany of different kinds of technologies or systems or solutions that the developers could be making. And so what I usually do, and this is, I'm sure, what any developer in Ukraine could be doing, is recognizing a problem in the city, saying, "City, you have a problem here," and the cities normally say, "It's true, this is a problem." And at the same time, the developers say, "Well, here's a solution," and it's a really crude, rapid prototype or a minimal viable kind of illustration of what the solution looks like. And when the politicians or the policymakers or the city servants see that thing, they're like, "Holy crap, you guys have already started to fix this problem for us." And then usually there's little budgets to take it to the next level. And those are grants or subsidies, very complicated procedural kinds of requests. These are just kind of like out-of-pocket kinds of budgets that any project manager, whether it's mobility, traffic, or if it's parks, or if it's security, safety, if it's health, whatever it may be. A lot of times, if you already have a solution that tackles that problem to make it faster, to make it cheaper, to make it more effective, they're listening. And if you're a developer that has some skills to build stuff quick, and maybe you have a designer on the team, you can visualize it, make it sexy, then you've got the strict attention from the city, and they can usually allocate, whatever, 5,000, maybe 10,000 to take it to the next level as a pilot, as a real kind of experiment. And I think cities are starting to opening their minds to quick experiments rather than spending. They're transitioning from the waterfall, as they say in development, to more agile, the Scrum kind of way of working. Hopefully, right? Because you don't want cities to blow all the taxpayers' monies working on a 3-year project that costs millions of dollars, months of work, only to find out no one's going to use that service or use that platform or use that solution. So helping them to say, what would you do? So if convincing the city to give you 5,000 euros, what would you as a developer do with that 5,000? What's the next thing you would do? And that next thing unlocks the third thing, and the third thing lets you achieve the goal of the fourth thing, and slowly but surely developers can get their foot in the door.
I see. So
it's a very agile way of working.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it makes sense. No, it makes sense. I mean, I was really interested in how it works, at least in Amsterdam, right? I'm not sure that the same kind of model will work in in Ukraine and Kiev, but at least this kind of approach, it makes sense, because you start with kind of idea, as you said, with very rough kind of prototype, because you don't want to invest a lot in something that might
Exactly.
not be used, right? And this is frustrating, right?
Correct.
Because you can spend lots of efforts, it will be just wasted, right? So this is really good approach to to move in stages, to get to the new level, kind of, and think and have a plan, right? What you're gonna do next after, if you get some small
Oh
budget,
yeah.
what you're gonna do
Or
next.
or or even better, you help those politicians fulfill their promises, right? So if they have goals and ambitions for the city of Kiev, for example, your product or your idea will help them accelerate and reach that goal. And so then you get support, then you get the attention. So if there's an agenda, there's a vision, there's a city kind of policy or goal, and obviously any politician is having trouble reaching that goal or fulfilling their promises. But maybe with a developer, you can accelerate that process, and by just creating, even if it's an interactive mock-up, so it's just a weekend project, but the buttons are
Yeah.
working. You believe the screens, and seeing is always believing, right? When you see things, when you visualize things, and the things kind of work, then you have their attention. And I know personally that there's a lot of really talented developers and programmers from the Ukraine
No,
that can do
absolutely.
these things, but they need to be more kind of American in the sense of entrepreneurial, saying, charging to the city hall and say, guys, you guys are wasting way too much time. Check this out. This will save you this much time, this much money, and get you closer to fulfilling your promise that you were elected for. And then they're listening.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is kind of interesting. I wish it to kind of to really work, but unless you try, you never know, right? So I guess
Exactly. They say
really
in
kind
Dutch
of
that durf to do it. Dare to do it. Dare to do it. Just try it. You'd be actually pleasantly surprised, I think.
no, hopefully. Anyway, I mean, I think really, as I told you, I mean, I guess we are way behind the Amsterdam in terms of this mindset, right? And in terms of doing something for for environment, let's say, or for the sustainability kind of goals. But still,
Yeah.
I pretty much kind of believe that with upcoming years, in let's say in 3 years, it's going to be really in trend for kind of everyone, including Ukraine, I guess, because we just we're gonna have to do something. So I guess, I mean, it's even if there is
Yeah.
no
Yeah, that's
it,
right. The clock is ticking, and
yeah.
the time is against us all. So we could continue doing things in the 20th century mindset, or we could really start
Mhm.
doing impactful things with a 21st century mindset. And that's much more about, it's not about throwing technology to solve every problem, or every problem requires technology. That's not it at all. It's more like the diversity of skills, the new ways of understanding these problems, and a lot of times you can start kind of start solving those problems with the tools that we have today. We can very quickly articulate and explain those complicated problems and simplify them in a way to
Yeah.
make things more efficient and more optimized. And the development community can do that, because that's what they have to do every day during their stand-ups. If you're a product owner, or if you're a scrum master, you know exactly how to tackle every a problem in little bite sizes, right? Little baby steps. And
Yeah.
politicians keep overcomplicating things, over promising things. And I keep talking about governance here, because when it's um, when you're trying to tackle sustainability issues, it does come back to the politics and the goals and the local the local solutions, and not just the kind of commercial ones that are just for profit. I think what the city of Amsterdam is trying to do right now is position itself as Europe's first circular city, so that you take that kind of classical model of taking, making, wasting stuff, and you bring that into full circle. And with Kate Raworth's book, The Donut Economy, we start looking at a brand new economy based on the societal impacts and the environmental impacts, and not just economic growth, because there's no way that we're going to be able to sustain that. We need to really change our entire mindset. So changing our changing our attitudes from this 20th century crap as no longer compatible to the 21st century challenges, and start thinking about the societal and environmental impacts as a way forward, is something that developers can do really easily. Politicians can't, and corporations don't like that. But lean, mean developers can really start coming up with some kick-ass solutions to tackle those urgent complexities.
No, I know. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. And as you said about this, like crazy promises from the governments, especially with this kind of net zero, right? Net zero promises to be net zero in like 40 years. It's crazy, right? I mean, how do you plan for 40 years, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of the kind of people behind that, politicians and stuff, they do not have the plan, right? And especially they do not have tools, right? And kind of some real solutions for that. So but from the other side, of course,
right.
this is the big kind of challenge and big problem. It can't be solved just by a bunch of developers, of course. But as you said, I mean, now technology makes it kind of makes it possible to do kind of easier than it was before, because these problems were already kind of already with us for decades, right? Even this climate change, it was like for decades this problem was kind of with us, right?
Warning flags out there forever.
Yes, and and a lot of kind of ecologists or some scientists, they were trying to do something, right? But now we have much more powerful instruments thanks to technology, and developers can kind of help, of course, building them, because
and those instruments are completely familiar to the development community. Whether it's open APIs, open source code, open data, AI, white papers. All of those solutions are weapons in our arsenal to fight these problems. But the politicians have zero knowledge or experience of how to utilize those things. And so I think it's up to the development communities to really say, hey, let's do an experiment, right? And that little experiment, even if it's a street or just a little district or just a little pilot project somewhere, can make the biggest difference to kind of fulfilling that 40-year promise, or the 40-year vision. And what I mean by that is, imagine if Kiev is committing to 5 of these smart mobility, 5 of these smart energy, 5 of these kinds of open data projects, and those kinds of things start really, they're small investments, but out of those 5, one of them is going to scale, and one of them is going to be awesome. And then you've just created a new business opportunity. You've generated new economic opportunities for those types of developers that can actually help the governments solve that problem. But again, it's just down to mini experiments, really affordable, cheap, modest, focused experiments that that the government can totally pay for. And then when they do that, they pat themselves on the back because they call themselves innovative, right? And out of those, if it's a numbers game, out of those 5 little mini experiments in mobility, energy, whatever it is, one of them is going to do great, or maybe both. And with blockchain, you start transforming consumers into prosumers. And then slowly but surely, you start accelerating that transition.
Okay. No, it makes sense, and this is really agile way to do things, right? I mean, so even so, kind of, you know,
Super agile, right? It's
agile
up for the developers to teach the politicians how to think
to
Scrum.
be agile. Yeah, to be agile. Yeah. No, I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Cool. So I guess
Yeah, and it's
I mean,
again, as a developer, if your local department, waste department or water department or whatever, transport department says, okay, here's 5,000, and we want a minimal viable or a proof of concept. You and your buddies would probably plow through the weekend, get something working, and then demo that back to the department, and they all look great. And then they say, well, hang on, this works. It's easy to use. I understand it. This thing could scale. Let's give them some more money and some more money. I mean, it's not the government's job to be, venture capitalists, but they are responsible to fix this problem, but they need to outsource those solutions to some of the talent in the community.
No, true. I agree. And as you also like touched on the open data, I guess this is the good time to kind of switch to and talk about the open data. So what's the role of open data in your projects? And let's start from this one.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics because it sounds boring, but when you kind of zoom back out to where the world is right now, you look to the east and you see what China's doing with data collection, data storage, data processing, and they're using it basically to control the entire population and entire population behaviors to make sure that everybody in China right now is being rewarded or punished from their behavior. So that data is in complete control of the government. Actually, I don't have such a problem with that because they're honest about it. The government says, we're doing this, so watch yourself, and everybody knows what's expected. Yes, it's worse because you have Mark Zuckerberg and everybody collecting huge amounts of data. They go into a black box and designing these algorithms to really weaponize our own behaviors against each other. And then they're selling this crap to the government saying, well, we're a big famous corporation. And then there's all these hearings in the Senate and so forth. How do you make money, Shani? And then none of these people really understand what the capital surveillance is doing to the American population, the world population for that matter. And so when you decentralize data or open the data sets, we have a more fair and equitable and more inclusive kind of democracy. And so the projects that I'm developing for the city of Amsterdam are generating, the source code is all free. It's all about Kiev can use a lot of my it's not me, of course. I'm just the preaching the gospel, but Marcus Funstein and is is the lead developer for the AI, for example, for the crowd monitoring solution. So like for the city of Amsterdam, it's under enormous stress right now because now that the pandemic's over, this new pandemic world is, the return of tourists, over tourism, big events, over 300 events planned in the old historic city in any given year, which is over 5,000 people plus. And we were hosting the UEFA Cup this year, Grand Prix this year, the Eurovision Song Contest this year, and the Sail 2020, which is like 4 million people in the city in 1 week for a city of 850,000. So we need to have some insights about what's going on with our crowds, and it has nothing to do with privacy. It's all citizen-centric, privacy design, GDPR compliant. That we're not even recording videos. We're just using an algorithm and using the existing camera infrastructures to count people. And that data is then directly shared with developers or the public or journalists or artists, whatever they want to do with that data. It's all theirs. The source code is also free for cities like Kiev to use. Some of the data that we're using for that project, of course, isn't open source because you're dealing with visual material, which you have to be very careful of because the people in those images don't give consent to use that image. So we can't share that stuff, but we can share the source code and the data that we're producing in terms of the counts of people or the density or the in and out occupancies, those kinds of things we can easily share with the development community. So that's just one illustration, one example of open source. From global and why we're doing it to an example project that we're doing here in the city of Amsterdam. And I'll talk about some of these. You'll see some of these projects during my my keynote.
No, it sounds very interesting, Tom. I mean, as so I mean, I had this question, so I guess, but
Oleg, but
okay, so I guess there is a lag again. So let me reconnect quickly again. I'm not sure why it's happening, but
yeah, I'll keep talking. Another example was a few years ago, we organized a hackathon, and those are nice events too, where different parties are opening up their data sets to allow developers to come up with rapid prototype in a pressure cooking kind of environment solutions. So I was just talking about another example of open source, and so during these hackathons, a lot of these telecoms and museums and things will share their data, and it's amazing what happens when they share data, or even better, real-time data. Developers can really reimagine, rethink, go way outside people's comfort zone about what you can do with the data once it's available. So sharing is caring, but it's also sharing is also profitable once you have a solution that works. And so therefore, everybody that I work with, I want to make sure that the data that we are sharing is profitable, or equitable to the other people that can mix and mash the data together. They can use it for prediction modeling, they can use it for simulations, all those kinds of things. But just for sitting on all that data to capitalize on it is a stupid model.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely agree, and I like what you're doing in this case.
Hear me, Oleg?
Yes, I can hear you well. So I'm lagging again, right? You can't hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I can sort of hear you. Got your Mr. Roboto voice, so I don't know if others are hearing that as well, or if that's just me. But I could also run upstairs and connect to Ethernet if it's me. I don't know. But yeah, I'll just keep talking. Another example is opening APIs. So one of my other examples is a few years ago, we organized a big event to open up developing an API that allowed developers to connect to 850,000 smart meters around the Netherlands. And so it's an interesting scenario when developers can design solutions like wearable technologies, motion detections in the house, to really start kind of thinking about how to optimize the heating and energy use of the energy performances of the building. And there's a lot of solutions that that the people came up with, the developers came up with, and once their solution was approved, meaning it was safe, it was legal, all the legal arrangements were approved, then we would connect them to the smart homes, or the smart meters, the smart thermostats for 850,000 homes in the Netherlands. So that's another example of opening sources from an energy company. What happens when energy companies share that access? Of course, that access is anonymous. It's anonymized. You don't know who those clients are. It's just connections to these smart thermostats. And that's another example of open source, let's say open APIs to connect to. Oleg, are you back?
Yeah, nice. I mean, I hope I'm back. I mean, can you hear me, or I'm still a robotic voice? let me. Okay, so looks like you can't hear me again.
Sort of. I don't know.
try to Tom. Try to reconnect from your side.
Would it make a difference if we? I don't want to turn off videos, of course, but let's try. Yeah. No, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I'm saying try to reconnect from your side.
Let me do that. I don't know if that's any better. Can you hear me?
Yes. No, I can hear you, Tom. Yes, we lost Tom.
Is that any better?
No, I mean I can hear you, but I guess there is a lag anyway. So can you probably reconnect, Tom?
Yeah. Let me try to reconnect.
Yeah.
Let me. Apologies, everybody. This is a pity.
Yeah, I can imagine it's probably not the best kind of experience for people listening to us because.
Yeah, apologies. I'm gonna try. I'm on the Ethernet now, so it should be okay. Is that better?
Yes, I mean I think so. And from your side, can you hear me well?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I was rambling on of more experiments of open data, open APIs, and when you share the data, everybody wins, at least on a small scale.
No, this is awesome. So basically, I mean, I was saying that basically you are not even using open data, but you are producing it for the everyone's kind of benefits, which is awesome. I mean, that was one of my questions. Are you just using some open data that's fiddling around, or are you actually generating this data and sharing with the others? But I guess you already answered in that.
Yes and no. I mean, yeah. I mean, personally, if I'm getting funded by the cities, it's taxpayers' money, so it's kind of ethically. I'm ethically responsible to make sure that I'm not personally profiting from that commission to capture and store the data and then process the data to capitalize on that. If the taxpayers are paying me for this project, then I want to make sure that they get the data back, right, in one form or another, especially as it comes to like air quality or sound pollution or environmental data. Who owns that data? Yeah, or if I'm counting people in space, sorry, we own that data, right?
Yeah.
not Zuckerberg or not.
Yeah.
So that's important. And what's also important too is that I don't know how Kiev or Lviv or other cities in Ukraine deal with it, but there was this kind of about 10 years ago, cities said, oh, we have to start opening up data sets. And so they had these kind of data portals. And so they spent several years, aggregating lots of different types of data sets, usually, health, economic kind of statistical stuff. And they're usually in the forms of PDFs and Word docs. Maybe some cities are more mature now, which actually have JSON formats that are just kind of standard interoperable kinds of formats. But then what, right? The cities are having a problem. Okay, now that they've shared all the data, what are people doing with it? And so that's why I think the developers need to put their entrepreneurial hats on and say, hey, thank you for this data. And if I mix it with this one, we have a new solution.
No, yeah, no. This is cool. Of course, it should be like bidirectional. I mean, ideally, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
the kind of governments and probably some companies ideally should share that data and make it open. And of course, if we are making some derived data from that, right? That then we also like kind of open
correct.
source that kind of.
Yeah,
So this
yeah,
is this is the same principle as with open source software, right? I mean, if you're
exactly.
taking open source, you're
Yeah,
producing another open source, right?
yeah. I mean, my hope and my another call to action during the keynote next month is going to say how can we developers reverse engineer the city, because
Yeah.
they're not trained to be efficient. They're only doing bureaucratic stuff from the 20th century crap, and there's a whole new generation of people that can really kind of just show us with how the system works, and we'll help you optimize it.
Yeah, no, I'm scared even to think how it works in Ukraine. So, oh my god, I'm not sure I want to reverse engineer. Better just to kind of
No,
replace,
yeah, you understand what I mean. Is that once developers understand how the system works, they'll find those inefficiencies and troubleshoot and pinpoint the kind of the crap. But not to, I'm not talking about any
Yeah,
revolutions or anything or hacking of hacking of entire cities. But I'm just saying we can be much more thoughtful and more proactive with helping the cities make decisions, and sometimes that is by using data or contributing data to their
yeah. No, I'm absolutely sure it's possible, and this is something we should do really. I mean, and I guess, I mean, the last question from my side, Tom, is, I mean, also related to the open data. I mean, so imagine I have some idea, right? Imagine I have an idea of some project, right? And of course I need some data for it, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it can be any type of data, either environmental or some, kind of social. So how do I search for that kind of data? How do I find it? You know, either, and how to understand, is it available at all? I mean, of course I can Google, right? But I guess, I mean, potentially there are more efficient ways to how to check or search for the data. I mean,
Well,
uh,
yeah, I mean, there's two sources. One is the government, like the public, and the private sources. The private sources are going to be, much more about licenses and subscriptions and tokenizations and different really limited access to get into
mhm.
those types of data sets. And most often you're going to actually have to pay for it, which sucks. The government's public parties should have data sets that are available for you, at least to kind of mock up the fake data, the demo data, or kind of have at least a sample that's been anonymized. It's that you can use. And so
Yeah.
I would, if I was a developer right now in Ukraine, one of the first things I'd do, if it was like a food solution or water solution or
Mhm.
energy solution, um, mobility solution, I would talk to those departments and ask what types of data sets are available to start with.
Okay.
You want to start with the free stuff. You don't want to be making those
Yeah, yeah. No,
crazy
no, absolutely,
investments if
absolutely.
if it's not necessary. So start with the public parties, the departments that you're trying to. So you have a problem that everybody recognizes. You think you can solve it, but you need some data to play with, and then just pick up the phone, call those representatives, one or departments directly themselves, and within a few phone calls, you'll probably have a yes or no answer. Yes, this data set exists and it's free because we're a public party. The cities can't charge developers for city data. Or they say, no, sorry, it doesn't exist. And then you could say, well, okay, now maybe I can help change that. Maybe that's my call to action, is that I can
Yeah,
help the city
yeah, to collect
with
to
that
collect the
data.
data,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to make use of it. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if that answers your questions in terms of the technical sides, like the types of data sets that you can expect and things like that. It really depends on the maturity of the municipality, or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the or how much money you have to spend for the private parties to give you access to.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, I mean
There could
it's
be simple reasons for security or privacy or something. They can't share that data, but
yeah.
there's something you could just, if you're insistent, you can get something. I'm sure, just a historic data set or anonymized data set, just to play with and come up with that killer demo.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, I guess it depends on the case, right? You still need to search for this data, talk to people,
Yeah,
ask
it's gonna be a
ask
few phone
people for
calls.
it.
Yeah.
So there is no magic kind of one place where you
No.
go and, oh, this is the catalog of the data, right? Oh, I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
go in air pollution or
Or
food.
what you could do, and this is just a kind of brain fart, but if I was a Ukrainian developer, I would check out the free open data sets that exist in Amsterdam to model. And then you could say, well, I found this in our friends to the north or friends to the west in Amsterdam. Why don't we have such a data set, right? And there's literally thousands and thousands of different types of data set that the city of Amsterdam provides for free to everyone. So if you can't find it in Ukraine, maybe just talk to me and maybe I'll I'll point you in the right direction in terms of what data sets may exist for them in Amsterdam.
And
Just
what
to experiment with.
yeah, and what data is actually kind of useful from your
Yeah,
experience,
it's
right?
mostly kind of like GIS data, so which is also kind of interesting in terms of like the visibility aspects, mapping, and kind of the zones, and you could use that stuff for geofencing or whatever. But it also kind of shows you that the different diversities of all the thousands of layers of the city that you don't see from the human eye. But when you go to data.amsterdam.nl, you see all of these maps that are just like all the different types of trees, all the places where you can go pee, all of the places that are under construction, all of the historic monuments. I mean, anything that you want to find is visualized in the map form. So GIS data is huge. GIS and formats are huge, and that really helps just experiment, explore, mock up some prototypes.
Yeah, no, this is cool, yeah, I mean, hopefully after our conference, after your talk, more developers will be inspired by that, and will try to do something. I mean, either just for fun, or really it's for the big goal, kind of
Yeah, I mean, if you have access to an Azure account or any kind of data visualization platform, that's awesome. But usually those are owned and occupied by people that want to make money. Those data analysts and things that usually those are for proprietary or private purposes, for the reporting or the whatever they need it for. They're not going to open that stuff up to the public, but the cities should have something similar, ideally. And if they don't, then if I was a developer, I would definitely get a commission to help assist them to do that.
Cool. Sounds awesome. Good, Tom. So I guess that's basically all my questions that I prepared for you. So I guess it was very interesting conversation. Hopefully our connection problems were not,
sorry about that, people.
hopefully they were not so kind of nasty for the people to kind of drop off. But anyway, I mean, I guess, I mean, thanks a lot for your kind of insights, and thanks a lot for your kind of advices, suggestions, and I mean, it is really awesome. Kind of.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to the keynote. I want to put as much fire in the belly of the developers as I can, because there's so much opportunity and so much potential that is untapped, as my company's called, Untapped. That I think that I'm hoping that we can, from this conference, definitely cover as much ground as we can in terms and the theme of sustainability, but more importantly, what the audience can do to contribute to that cause.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot for Tom for your time, and again, it was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Oleg. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, have a great
Cheers,
day.
bye. Have a great day then.
You too. Bye-bye.